IVM.
The Cred app has changed my life because of how convenient it is. The app tells me when my bills are due, looks for hidden charges, and the offers are just amazing rewards and cashbacks for paying my bills on time. I'm so glad that this is the one thing that I can take off my to-do list. So don't miss out. Just download Cred. This is Storytellers and Story Sellers live on tape. You're listening to Vineet Kanabar on the IVM Podcast Network. Many times in the past few episodes, we've got on someone who's a domain expert in various parts of marketing or on working on the cutting edge of marketing, right? I think on one of the episodes that I was doing with the traveling professor, he talked about how marketing is really growing at the edges. It's where marketing meets technology, or marketing meets HR, or marketing meets design is where marketing is really growing. And today I've got someone on to talk about one of the most exciting facets of marketing that is growing in a very dynamic fashion today. Please say hello to Neeraj Ruparial from GroupM. Neeraj is the head of mobility and emerging tech at GroupM, and he's got massive experience in mobile marketing, specifically for voice marketing and on consumer platforms. Neeraj has been recognized as a 40 under 40 on Campaign Asia Pacific, which is one of the most prestigious ones in advertising and marketing. He is also on the list of the top 25 mobile marketing leaders in the country by World Mobile Congress. He's worked for a variety of brands, won several awards, including a Cannes and an ICOM Data Creativity Award. Neeraj is an ex-colleague from my time at GroupM, and I've had a chance to listen to Neeraj talk about voice, and I'm very, very excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. Please join me and say hello to Neeraj. Hey Neeraj, how are you doing?
All's well, Vineet. How are you doing? Thanks for having me over.
We're really glad that we could do this, man.
This is definitely not new to you. I think back in Wavemaker, we've been jamming a lot on this subject.
For sure.
It's pretty much evolved, and a lot of new stuff keeps happening in this space. So dynamic that even I need to keep myself totally updated on so many verticals. So
I was just going to say, who better than you to talk about it with us, though, right? But before we talk about all the good stuff, I want to just introduce you to the audience, and I'll throw it over to you to talk about how you got where you got. I know that there is a modeling stint involved somewhere. I know you are a fitness freak. I also know that you're a very avid hula hooper. So there's a very interesting mix of things from modeling to marketing that you've done. Can you give us a whirlwind tour of what of how you got where you got, and what were some interesting pit stops in the way?
Yeah, I mean, like my dad keeps saying, like I'm someone, and my career is something which is just happened, it just happened to me. So I just go with the flow, and whatever I do, I put a lot of passion into it. So eventually it clicks, and then I decided, yaar, ye to nahi karna hai, let's try and do something else. So when I was in college, I was really kicked about dancing in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty active with Shamaks and stuff. So I used to do a lot of award shows and stuff like that. Practice till like late night at 4 a.m. and all, jam with my friends and stuff like that. I still remember in my B school, one of our professors in Mumbai was hugely popular, Kaleem Khan. I'm sure you must be knowing him.
Right.
So his lecture, he's the dean of Rizvi right now.
Right.
And his lecture used to always conflict with my Shama classes.
Right.
And he still did, hands down, my favorite faculty. And I used to rush like how to make it to his classes as well, and finally cleared his papers as well with flying colors. So that was a happy feeling that you are doing whatever you're passionate about, and at the same time you are able to dedicate time to studies as well.
Right.
So I think to begin with, it was what was playing on my mind is just to get into choreography, learn more moves and stuff like that. And then I came across this prop which we used to use at Shamaks, which mostly girls used to use it, these hula hoops and stuff.
Right.
But I think me and hula, we absolutely clicked, and over a period of time, I started doing a lot of these stunts with hula. So I can do hula while I'm walking up the stairs. I can do pull-ups hanging in the bar, and still the hula continues, doesn't fall. So we are like a lethal combo. And
sounds amazing.
A lot of my content is also floating around. I keep doing a lot of these random shows in various wherever there's a possibility and stuff. So that's one passion area which kind of breeded over a period of 10 odd years, I would say, when I started Shamux. And then when I was doing Shamux, I got connected with a lot of producers and a lot of people from the channel and glamour fraternity. So I thought, why not try my luck into modeling and stuff? So I went for that and I succeeded as well to some extent.
Right.
Got a lot of ads going. This is again early 2000. A lot of work for Cambridge and Dabur and stuff like that. That's all past though. But yeah, and then sooner I realized that let's do something which basically helps you grow your mind and not just leverage your looks and fitness and do something in that space. Though there was a passion subject, so I did some work wherever possible. And soon I realized that, let's go for advertising and something to do with tech. So I moved in that zone. I picked up a course wherein I was learning more in terms of technology and all the new stuff which keeps happening. There was always a passion area, so I used to always follow it whether I was studying or not. And then I picked up advertising and I moved into a product company which was focusing on building loyalty programs and centralized billing systems for telecom in those days.
Right.
So I launched, in fact, I got the pleasure to work on that product, which is India's largest loyalty product, which is Vodafone Tuesdays.
Right, of course.
You guys must be aware about that, right? So we launched it in UK with Orange Wednesdays, and I was part of the team which did the launch here. Also worked on the centralized billing platforms from telco. So a lot of learning out there.
Right.
Then I think when I got connected to agencies, it clicked the most because it just broadened my horizon in terms of thinking wild and crafting solutions for my client. It's not just specific to one category, but it just opens up the entire horizon for an individual like me who can absolutely think wild and think solutions which are more India or Bharat specific as I see it.
Right.
And voice is being a rage in last 2 years because of a lot of platforms like Google and Amazon and Alexa pretty upbeat in the urban market.
Right.
But you are aware at Group M, we've been running this practice for almost like more than a decade now.
Oh, most definitely.
We've been doing fancy work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very, very old practice at Group M and rural. It's not new at all.
Oh.
There's a lot of work we've done in that space over the years.
For sure.
But yeah, with a lot of connected voice opportunities which came up in the Indian market, that gave it a lot of boost. And fortunate now to lead the voice practice for WPP India.
And
getting more exposure from my global colleagues, getting to learn from global folks from Amazon and Google. Again, I would say just passion drives the way. So you learn from these guys and come back to India, coach your guys, create more clones of Neeraj, as I say. Today, as we speak, I've got like about 55-member core community, which has got participation across all WPP operating companies. And sometimes when I jam with these guys, I feel this is me, because they are exactly thinking like what I used to think about a decade back. And these are the guys I need to groom, and then good work is going to flow eventually.
And that's what good leaders do, right? You create more leaders who can then take it up. But a lot to unpack there, so I'm going to do it in stages, right? I think lovely introduction to your background and your career. You spent some time at before Group M at Madhouse as well, which was the mobile marketing sort of agency for the longest time in India, and then came into voice. Right now, before we unpack voice, let's give the audience a sense of the evolution of voice, really, right? I mean, today we sit at a time where voice technology exists from feature phones all the way to conversational AI and 5G. I mean, it's a whole spectrum, right? And there's an evolution that has happened with voice. I remember my first major campaign with voice that I was very fortunate to work on for a little bit was Kankajura Tesan, which was still the rural use case, right? The media dark use case where no other media really reaches. The people don't really buy newspapers, or they don't really have cable in the traditional sense of TV that we have it. So before the geo revolution, voice was pretty much the only way to get there, right? Now what we've got on the other end of the spectrum is I can speak into a remote and Alexa will find me whatever I'm looking for, right? So it's a big chunk of what we consider a big pillar of marketing today, right? It's become video, vernacular, and voice, which are the three buzzwords that are taking over marketing today. So let's take a step back, and if you can give us a whirlwind tour, an evolution of voice marketing in India, where it was and where we are today, and then maybe we'll talk about where we could be as well.
All right, so that's again a kind of story which I would want to relate back to you. So, like I said, the practice at Group M is almost like a decade old when it comes to voice. So I still remember early days when I joined Group M, and most of my bigger clients they believe in massive research programs. So early in my career, I was being pushed out to rural markets like Bihar and UP, and clients used to say, "यार ये blonde hair करके hero बन के आया है एक agency वाला. He doesn't understand my market that well. So let's send him to UP Bihar. Let's get him to understand the market, and let's then use his creativity to build solutions." So I spent I would say 1.5 year in my initial stint at Group M, visiting these markets, getting a flavor of rural India. And then when the consumer understanding was spot on, I started working on the solutions bit.
Right.
So I would say before that, you would want to get a rundown on the Indian market and how the landscape is stacking up before we move into the evolution. I think that will give a fair idea in terms of what the market is right now and what the market is there to offer, right? So
totally. I think whichever way you prefer. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to see Indian market like densely populated at about 1.3 billion is our population, and we are saying in this market there are 1 billion active SIM cards as we talk.
Right.
And we are saying there are close to 500 million phones, which are smartphones. Yeah. And there are close to 1 billion SIMs is what I said, right? So 500 million are smartphones, and there are close to 400 million SIMs, which are still sitting on dumb phones or feature phones, as we call it.
Right.
And are we saying feature phones in the Indian market are here to stay? Answer is no, because India is losing about 5 million feature phones month on month.
Right.
Are we saying India is losing these feature phones to smartphones? Answer is again partially no, because we're losing these phones to smart feature phones. Those typical
like a
Geo
market-specific innovation.
Yeah, it's those typical Geo kind of phones, or Carbon, Lava, Nokia. Everyone's launching these smart feature phones, which is in that $20 kind of a price point. Those phones basically support about 22 languages. We pick up Geo phone per se. And the biggest joystick on that phone is a voice icon. And the platform which is running behind it is Google Assistant, which is currently available in about 10 odd languages, and that's being ported onto Google, right? So we're talking about an ecosystem where globally India kind of offers cheapest data ever. And you're talking about a device which is loaded with 600 pieces of video content.
Right.
And the audience which is picking up those devices are not literate enough. So guess what? If they want to invoke a content, they're going to punch that joystick on their phone and say, "Bhai, aaj tak chala de," play American Beauty, and the content starts popping in from there, right? So that phone itself is a classic example of, like you rightly mentioned, Vineet, about voice, video, and vernacular coming together. Where voice is going as an input, video is being flashed back as an output, and vernacular is what the device story is all about, right? Currently supports about 22 languages.
Right.
Now, if you talk about the success of platforms in India, and podcast is what you run, right? Podcast market in India, I think PwC report, which I was last checking out, is about 93 million.
Right.
But the largest podcast platform in India is PMK Mann Ki Baat, which has touched about 600 million users. Must be lesser now, considering the situation. But at overall level, it's that 600 million people, and it's running on telephony, right? Not just on connected voice, but even on platforms that people can call and access it.
Right.
So anything to do with telephony, with a regional language support. So PMK Mann Ki Baat is currently available in 19 languages. The device is available in 22 languages. There are platforms like Nuance which support speech or command on the device at a 16 language plus kind of a scale. Right. So this entire ecosystem is really upbeat, and a lot of work is happening in that ecosystem. So out of those 1 billion SIMs which are active in the Indian market, we are saying 400 million dumb phones or feature phones, of which close to 100 million are now upgraded to smart feature phone kind of an environment where they have data, they have 4G as a bandwidth on those devices, available dirt cheap at $20. But these are the bunch of guys who are deal seeker audiences. So if you remember in the past when you were running campaigns, in rural India, recharge was being given away for people buying any pack and stuff. So the new recharge currency today is data, because they know their phone is loaded with so much content. If you give them 1 GB data, they can access it. They can access a lot of content out of it. The entire entertainment jukebox opens up for that data. So they are
subsidized connectivity has moved from sort of telephony to data, internet basically. Yeah.
Absolutely. If you were to say, see, about 5-6 years back, your bills used to be about 3,000 rupees on a postpaid connection, and majority of the money which you're paying for voice. 15%, 10 to 15% would be data. Today it's 50% voice, 50% data. Tomorrow it'll be 85% data.
Sure.
And very limited voice, because you will start calling on platforms like WhatsApp and all the other platforms which we use for calling.
Absolutely.
So data is going to lead the way, right? And video is obviously going to shine, but the input, as I say, in a country like India, which has got a lot of literacy issues, input would still go in regional vernacular, and output can be controlled through video content, which brands will have to constantly invest on.
Right.
So coming back to the landscape, you're saying 1 billion, 500 million smartphones, 400 million feature phones, and the story of voice kicks in all these segments. So 300 million feature phones. Out of those 400 million are completely data dark, running on 2G. The device is not friendly enough to give any kind of a internet bandwidth on those phones. So entertainment is completely limited to voice. Right? So those 300 million pocket, what is the kind of solutions which brands are building in? Maybe we can throw some light on that as we move along in our chat.
For sure.
And those 100 million segment, which is connected kind of an audiences who have now suddenly started using, got a flavor of video, got a flavor of data, got a device that supports it in some form. What are the kind of campaigns we are landing in that space? Some use cases. The most marquee campaign which won us FOMA this year was Wheel Ghar Se Career Academy.
Right.
Must have heard about that, right? So that's one massive campaign. We were giving away 1 GB data to women in rural pockets and created a complete list of content for them to access. And it was linked to sales again. So you buy the pack and you get into a missed call and you get 1 GB data. So whatever sales also is getting generated, a larger CSR initiative is all getting generated.
I was saying Unilever is definitely one of those companies that has taken to voice in a big way, right? They've right from KKT to Rin Career Academy to the ones that you're talking about. They truly get it, right? But let me ask you this: what are some other really interesting voice executions that you're seeing, right? What are the use cases that you're seeing? I know sponsored connectivity is one that's definitely becoming part of it. Sponsored connectivity, sponsored content. But what are some other cases that you're seeing, and who's really doing it well?
All right, so let's just go back to your initial question on evolution, and let's just throw these use cases as the voice was getting evolved phase-wise. So like I said, a decade back, it was a one-way communication. And when we used to go for research, we still remember ladies used to get scared in those villages saying, "Ye dekhiye kiska call hai," and hand over the phone to the male member of the house, right? Then eventually the realization came. Male member must have explained them, saying that, "Arey, this is Amitabh Bachchan's recorded call, Do Boon Zindagi Ki. He's telling you that you should be giving polio vaccination, blah, blah." All the awareness which got kicked in. And at that point, government also launched a scheme called a voice-based platform called Kilkari. So the moment a baby is born in a rural market, they capture the mobile number, they start seeding in a lot of immunization, vaccination, health and hygiene related reminders and stuff like that. And as this entire one-way communication got a bit evolved with a lot of players moving into it, and a lot of one-way communication started building in, even though audiences out there realize, okay, these are one-way calls which are coming in, which are automated, but they are useful for us. That's the era where this technology got launched called DTMF, which is nothing but dual tone multiple frequency. Ability of an IVR to interact with an audience, gives them an option to press a key and interact, exactly like the KKT, right, which was a 2013 campaign. In that era, we saw a lot of campaigns getting floated, whether it's Godrej #1 Sundarta Ki Nuske, the lady is looking at some kind of a beauty tips, the call would go and she can press a key and she keeps getting it every Sunday. Or in finishing school, if you want to learn Silai or salon related work, you press a key and you start getting content. Or massive community radio platforms like KKT, where people call in, they subscribe to various content and stuff like that, right? From there, we kind of moved and the voice completely shifted. And those platforms did stay, but we started innovating on speech. So IVRS or platforms gotten a bit smarter. We call it Smart IVRS, which now supports speech. So classic example would be Pocket Dentist. So you call upon a number, Dato mein sudden. So it picks up sudden as a keyword and throws a content output back at you. Again, in that era, there are a lot of campaigns which gotten created. So one of them was, is my personal favorite, is the work which we did on Godrej. Godrej Goodnight Ki Pathshala, when we created a complete speech-led module of coaching people in rural areas. So English is a craze in rural markets, we all know. So we took, using this platform, we said, why can't we coach them small, mini micro statements in those particular villages and make them heroes or brand advocates in those villages, right? So how the IVR works is you call upon a number and the IVR is going to greet you saying that Suprabhat ko English mein kehte hain good morning, beep ke baad aap bole good morning. So the villager says with good morning with some diction, and the system is going to rank it and tell them that you got it with a 60% accuracy. Likewise, we teach them various small mini micro statements as part of this Godrej Goodnight Ki Pathshala. And there was a speech era where you were calling upon a number and you were throwing up certain keywords. System was recognizing keywords and was throwing an output back. From there, we started building platforms which are completely running on NLP and NLU, which is nothing but...
I want to just stop you and just talk about how remarkable that really is, right? Part where you said you're training the model by giving real people a phone call. And I just want to stop you and second on this, because it's so important to do this, right? Because the way the internet is made, right? The experience of the English internet that we see is created for pretty much a very Western audience, almost, right? It's made to their design sensibilities, it's made to their language sensibilities, etc. Often, I mean, and we've seen this happen with all of our devices as well, right? Often the accent on our Google Maps is very foreign, right? As compared to that, this training the model, I mean, it must be so important to train it in the right accent, in the right intonation, in the right pronunciation, for that service delivery to really get right.
What I wanted to ask you was about constructing these queries and training, right? Because search is still easy because search is different words that form different strings. But in voice and language, people ask things differently, right? Every language has its own grammar, everyone has their own accent. Some might choose to put a phrase subject, object, verb. Some choose subject, verb, object. There's so much to figure out, right? It's not just tagging an object to a sound, but also parsing how that sound or what that sound is asking you to do. So is there like what are the challenges that you faced when you were doing this? Because it sounds so easy when you say it, that we called folks up and we asked them a question and we said is line ke baad aap Suprabhat bolo, and they said Suprabhat. But behind the science behind that must be insanely complex.
Yeah, see, most of these platforms, they get trained over a period of time where AI kicks in, when more and more people start using these platforms. And it's also a factor of how many people are using these smart bots over a period of time. Bot becomes intelligent, it picks up their diction and it's able to render those answers properly in that case. Now, if you were to see most of these innovations which I'm talking about, which we did in these markets, whether it's Pathshala, it was being done in HSM, which is Hindi speaking markets, and it was done in Hindi. Hindi accuracy levels when it comes to platforms like Google Assistant is again, Hindi is the number 2 language in Google Assistant after English,
right,
on that platform. And even other speech platforms or other players who are there in the market, it's pretty evolved. I would say the accuracy levels are going to be way, way high when it comes to Hindi, and it's able to pick up the diction of various audiences,
right,
whether it's a South Indian accent and a Hindi which is going to come in from there versus what comes in from North India. So all that is being factored because the platforms, as I said, are pretty evolved now. Like what was the case a decade back,
right,
used to struggle with a lot of dictions. But now the entire library is so evolved, the rendering becomes easy. It's specifically, I would say, in Hindi. When you go to regional languages and other languages, the accuracy levels would significantly drop and it's going to pick up eventually when more and more solutions are being built on those languages,
right,
and the usage goes up. If more and more campaigns are delivered or platforms are delivered in those languages, then the usage is going to go up.
Absolutely.
And the accuracy levels are also going to go up. So
but
what I was talking about,
it's remarkable how it's evolved. It's just beautiful. Yeah, please go on.
So what I was talking about is speech as a platform. We were just picking up keywords and throwing an output back. From there, we started building platforms which are completely running on NLP and NLU, which is nothing but systems' ability to comprehend natural language of human, understand it, and then throw an output back.
Right.
So natural language processing and natural language understanding capability of a system to understand humans, decode it, and throw an output back.
Right.
Right. So classic example I would say would be, say, tons of examples, but say Axis Bank, you call upon a number and you say, "Mujhe account khulna hai." System understands the guy wants to open an account, helps you, maneuvers you, gets your transactions completed out there.
Right.
Another leg on voice here, which is playing a dominant role in the banking segment, is voice biometric. And not just banking, I see use cases across now. The other day I was checking out an application built by a doctor on tuberculosis. So the moment you launch the application and cough on it, it tells you whether you need, whether you have TB or not.
That's insane.
Likewise, there was a Mumbai-based company which launched a service wherein you need to, and BMC also supported that, right? Recently, when you launch that application, when you cough on it, it tells you whether you need a COVID check or not. So these are all running through various biometric samples of the users. Typically, an individual voice command would have 200 odd unique parameters, basis which you can gauge a lot of input and you can process it and throw a lot of output content back. Now in BFSI, it has got a very, very strong use case of replacing the entire call center automation AI with voice biometric. And I think Citibank in India is a classic example. So typically how it works, you call upon a number and you say, "My voice is my password." So next time when Neeraj calls in, his voice becomes the default password. He doesn't need to enter the TIN numbers of the world, your telephone identification number.
Right.
It's being replaced with this biometric. It helps you log into your platform, do seamless transactions. And that's pretty much biometric. And when I keep talking about these platforms, people say, "Bahut zyada sci-fi hai. India will take time." But I think Defense Ministry has been using it for the longest time.
Right.
And look at the stories around, Southern India and Crime Patrol, when you're watching, you will see some dumb guy sitting on the monitor room and he says, "Sir, I've encrypted something." What has he done? He's picked up Dawood's voice sample, he loads up on a live server. He retro matches it from the calls which are coming in from suspect countries. And every time there's a match, he says, "I've encrypted something," right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty much a voice biometric. That's the technology which is being used for decades now. And a lot of use cases are now emerging in the Indian market, and especially I would say in BFSI. And this entire ecosystem of connected voice in the urban pockets, and now it's also moving deeper into rural markets, which are Google Assistant and Amazon Alexa and Siri, or platforms like Microsoft Cognitive Speech Stack, which is powering those automation AI and sentiment analysis, which you typically see in a call center. When the customer is getting cheesed off, the system has an ability to read कि अभी sentiments गड़बड़ा रहे हैं. You need to have a bot to human handover.
Yeah.
So those platform stacks are also, and then there are these bunch of intents which are getting built on top of it. So this entire ecosystem is so upbeat, and there's loads to learn from that sometimes I get completely carried away and I forget the the problem statement which I was gunning for, and I get too much into platforms and too much into learning these platforms. But eventually all the learning typically helps you when you go back to the drawing board and you are looking at a problem statement of your brand. You would connect back and say, okay, this is what is the tech on offer, and these are the problem statement, and let's come and create a solution. Like Pathshala was a classic solution of creating literacy in rural areas.
Right.
At least there was a first move of something like this in the Indian market, right?
Yeah.
Powered by a brand. So that also needs a lot of convincing internally for the brands to pick up that role and go on that journey.
For sure. I think what's heartening though, and I mean, what I'm hearing from the various examples that you took us through is that it started as often as information collection, progressed into sort of delivering entertainment and collecting information, and finally is now closer to full-fledged service delivery, closer to taking us into that sci-fi utopia that is promised by technology, right? And again, to the people who say this is sci-fi, I'll say did you expect to have like touchable phones in your hands carrying on while you're sitting on your pot? So we're already in sort of a sci-fi. But again, this seems to be the more powerful leg or the more powerful application of a sort of emerging media than others that are possible. Let me ask you this though. I mean, and it would be incomplete to discuss all of this without discussing the cost of doing something like this, right? When you do input like a biometric sample of your voice, you're volunteering almost an immutable feature of your own personality, right? It's like on not your personality, of your own identity. How do you address privacy concerns maybe in voice? Do they arise? Is that a conversation as well when it comes to voice? Because it's again one of those things that is almost immutable, right? Your voice signature could, I mean, I don't know. Can you change it? Is that possible?
Yeah, so I think now we are moving away from biometric to cloning, which is a different subject, or voice synthesis, which is a different subject altogether.
Right.
Wherein, if I were to just give you an example, if Google were to overlay Amitabh Bachchan's voice on Google Map, right, which is what we read some time back, right? That when you ask that I want to go to Bandra to Google and it's Amitabh Bachchan who's going to guide you. So eventually happen. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
So how would that happen? That will only happen through technologies like voice synthesis, wherein Amitabh Bachchan's voice is going to be trained in a way so that multiple content on voice can be created. This cloned voice can be created so that crores of hours of content can be rendered. So the phonetics are being picked up from the recording, which will be done by, say, in this case, a celebrity. And then that will be rendered to words, and words will become sentences, and sentences will become paras. And eventually the output is going to flow in from the cloning software, right? Now, when it comes to PII and all, it's absolutely a scary area, like you rightly pointed out. So any campaign which are being done with any celebrity on these lines needs a proper watertight contract and agreement. Right. Even at the technology level and even at the legality level, so it's not being misused in any form. Right. And talking about the overall voice campaigns which we do, that's pretty much in the legal parlance of capturing PII database, where user gives an explicit opt-in while having a dialogue with the system, and those data is being captured. This is completely being done as per the TRAI, promotional calling protocols as well. That's also being followed. And then the campaign is being relayed. Whatever data is being captured is being relayed back to the concerned brands, and as a first party PII database, right, which they would then use for further remarketing and stuff like that. So it's completely driven through users opt-in, I would say.
Got it. Right.
And nothing on the lines of data which doesn't belong to you as a first party set, and you just approach it and start spamming those audiences in that sense.
It's a sort of scary area, to be honest, right? Let me pivot away to something less scary. The examples that you gave us and the sheer spread of those apps.
I would say not at all scary, yeah? Not at all scary.
I will take your word for it.
Not at all. I mean, cloning and stuff is still evolving. It's still pretty nascent. And see, imagine if you were to create a skill on Google or an Alexa, and if you want to transform the content output which is coming in from Alexa, when you are talking to Alexa, it's Alexa talking back at you.
Sure.
But if you want to create a skill for Unilever and you want that specific brand's identity or the sonic DNA or a sonic signature, as we call it, you want that brand's character to be talking back at you. You cannot be sitting and recording those content, right?
No, absolutely.
N number of content you cannot be recording. That's when voice synthesis would come into play.
Absolutely.
And that will give you a personalized output,
right,
as a user. So in the Western markets, I've seen a lot of these focus is on creating sonic branding.
Sure,
a lot of skills are now being made with that level of focus.
Sure.
India also, we are picking up. We did one of the most fabulous skill wherein we created a character like Jack Sparrow.
Right.
So when you're talking to Alexa for that particular brand, it's basically Jack Sparrow's voice is talking back at you, which symbolizes that brand's character. And when and it gives you a lot of relevant content in that brand's category. So when two people are getting drunk, it's going to give you access to lame jokes, stories from the sea, mocktail recipes and stuff like that. But when you talk to Alexa, it's that brand's identity who's going to talk back at you.
No, I totally see the merit and the beauty of it. The whole process of training a voice, giving it whatever, 18, 20 hours of ingestion and then getting the whole engine trained and having the whole thing played out by, but it's beautiful and it's also important for a lot of ways, right? But when I meant scary, I said, I meant scary from a
It has to be well guarded. I mean, that's something I completely agree. I think we've had this conversation back in the day at Group M.
Yeah, for sure.
On content, we've been really discussing this. Should we go for it and lock a celebrity and create something like that and then spread it across our brand? We've been hesitant and both of us know the reasons.
No, of course.
You've got to be watertight in terms of your approach on contractual obligations to see to it it's not being misused in any form.
Yeah.
We're talking about voice cloning, and now what's coming, what's doing the rounds right now is video cloning.
Right, of course.
Those deep fakes and MyHeritage and tons of applications getting floated in, right? So you have to be very, very careful about how you deploy them. You've got to get all the checkbox cleaned up before you go for scale.
I agree. Let me pivot away from this into asking you what, apart from the celebrity and the voice training and voice cloning as an aspect of brand engagement, what according to you are other aspects of a voice strategy that a brand should look at, right? Like if there's a brand that's not Unilever, because they've clearly knocked it out of the park with you guys on what they're doing for voice, right? But if there's a new brand, national presence, or new brand wants to get into a rural market, what should they look at when they're building up a voice strategy? What are the building blocks there?
All right. So the way I see this right now is if you talk about the urban markets per se, and if you go by Google's number on voice search, it's insane for India, where we are seeing about 20% or 30% of the overall search volumes are driven through voice.
Right.
So audience is shifting,
right,
and brands are aware about that. More and more people are now, and especially millennials and youth. And I was attending one of these keynotes, and one of the guys made this fascinating remark saying that for millennials in India or even globally, what voice does, it gives you a lot of pace, right? If I give you free data, which is what Jio has done to us in the Indian market, you can punch in about 40 words in a minute, but you can speak up 150 words in a minute. So that's pace and convenient, which is driving this particular space, right? So if you see 30% of your 20 to 30% of your search volumes on Google are coming in from voice, and 2 out of 3 searches are coming in from tier 2 markets, which is hinting at a language barrier. And when these guys are searching, if you're giving them a text destination as an output, that's a problem, right?
Right.
If a person who's starting the consumer journey by hitting the search panel and firing up a voice command, you need to create more and more voice skills.
Right.
That's a stepping stone. That's the first step, right? Where people would then come and engage with you in the same input from where they have come in. The output still has to be voice. It cannot be text. For all you know, he's come onto the browser because he's not literate enough. So you lose that audience then and there.
Absolutely.
When you take him to a text site, right? Another thing what I'm seeing is more and more brands who are sitting on tons of content which they have created. And this is a conversation we've had in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The brands who are sitting on a lot of content, they have to create a voice format for that and start relaying it onto platforms like Google and Alexa. So either you ride on the voice search wave, or you give a leg to your existing content. You're already spending too much on the content which you've created, whether it's on text or video or any other format.
Right.
All what we are saying is just create an extension to that content now on voice, because your audience have started using it. So the bigger challenge which we see for the brands is to have a right strategy on voice for content. If they already have content sorted, then all they need to do is just extend the platform. So ride on the voice search wave and extend the platform to voice. Launch these. This is the time. It's still nascent. It's picking up with tons of traction in this market. If you go and load up a skill right now, it's going to get prioritized over a text output for sure.
Right.
For example, if somebody says, give me the latest news to Alexa or Google, if one of these news publications have created a skill for news on Google, it's going to get prioritized over a good news which is coming in from any XYZ tech site.
Sure.
One of the reasons Google started giving what you call podcast as part of the search result. This was not the case 1.5 years back, right?
Right.
Podcasts have now started coming as part of the search results. So if you have a voice destination in the form of a voice app or a voice-enabled site or a podcast platforms, you're going to get preference over any other text content which is available when the audience is firing up a command on voice. So the clear strategy should be to ride on the voice search wave, create platforms, and especially when you have content readily available, you can create platforms, just give it an extension. One of the another stuff what we're doing right now for our clients here, we're leading into a lot of these client analytics on their side. So the traffic which is coming in from voice through various softwares, and then we kind of decode what are they searching for. That should go as a content when we created a voice skill on Google Assistant or Alexa. That makes it more relevant for the audience.
Sort of like because eventually demand analysis for what kind of content or what they're looking for, right?
Yeah. What are they searching? Whatever they are searching, you create a skill and make that skill a utility for these guys.
Right.
That's when the usage is going to go up. I'll just give you a classic example of one of the skills what we created for Godrej Hit. You're aware of this program we were running. I think I spoke about it in one of our jamming sessions, which is this Godrej Platelet Donation Drive,
right,
where we created initially, it's a 3-year-old campaign. Blood donation सब करते हैं, platelet donation कोई भी नहीं करता. Awareness ही नहीं है. Right? So we said, in that direction, HIT and Apollo Hospital, they came together. They moved ahead in their journey. We created a platform which is mostly IVRS. Call upon a number, you get the donor pool and doctor certified FAQs, blah, blah. We extended that platform to both Google and Alexa. So if you ask Alexa, I'm in need of platelets, Alexa is going to ask you which city you belong to. The moment you say Mumbai and you fire up a pin code, it throws information back at you saying that there are 4,000 donors in your vicinity. Not just that, it tells you there are 100 doctors certified Q&A on dengue and malaria, like those myth busters. It throws that data out at you.
That's insane.
So this was a fabulous skill which was being created looking at the demand analysis.
Right.
Now we said, how do we promote it? So the low-hanging platform would be platforms like Audio OTT. So we partnered with a dialogue ad platform called Instamatic. Simon and team, they've been fabulous in driving this entire dialogue ads wave.
Right.
Wherein Ghana and Instamatic were my go-to partners for this particular deployment. We created cohorts of audiences where dengue and malaria are picking up in various markets, troubled markets. And as you go and you're listening to a song from those markets or pockets or pin codes or cohorts, as you call it, it's going to throw up an ad at you saying that आपके इलाके में डेंगू और मलेरिया की महामारी फैली हुई है, आप अपने बच्चों को बचाना चाहेंगे, अपने परिवार को बचाना चाहेंगे. The guy doesn't need to tap on the banner. It's an audio ad which is played to you, which is conversational. You just need to say "ha." The moment you say "ha," it opens up a Google Assistant on your phone.
Right.
So the journey starts with you listening to an audio. The ad which is thrown at you is a conversational ad, and you are landed onto a platform which is again voice, which is Google Assistant, where you get the donor pool and all massive information about the problem statement which we are trying to address. So those are the kind of skills which are going to survive, right? Which is more holistic and which is more integrated in
serve a larger need as well.
Yeah. And some of our work you must have seen on Mondelez, obviously with Wavemakers, you must have seen this work which we did on Mondelez 5-star.
Oh yeah,
we
of
made
course.
Google Do Nothing.
The Do Nothing assistant. Yeah.
That was a fabulous.
Yeah, that was.
And then the recent work which we did. So from all our initial story started with rural India and how it was one way. Now we are talking about platforms we are creating on Alexa, something which we built recently for Cadbury Silk with one of our partners, Bolted in this case, and Amazon team, wherein we gave it a commerce leg, which is for the first time you get a lot of information about how to impress your lover on Valentine's Day. You also get an option to gift a Cadbury Silk, which the Alexa skill is going to then connect to Amazon shopping app, take your order through voice, so which means voice commerce on Amazon, triggered through Alexa, and the fulfillment happens on the shopping app, and you actually get this product delivered as well.
Brilliant. Right. It's like a voice-led commerce thing with delivery integrated. That sounds
something for the first time in India on Amazon. So a lot of these kind of use cases are emerging.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, Neeraj, and I think while the experience of it, the convenience, the entertainment value often, and again, taking nothing away from Do Nothing Assistants, brilliantly funny deployment of something that is so serious, right? With Alexa especially, with Google Assistant especially. What I wanted to ask you here is, there is definitely a much larger case for voice to be made as a channel, right? Given the kind of important deployments that have been used in the past, right? Whether it's the BMC and the COVID check or the one that you talked about, tuberculosis, there is so much that's happening on the education front as well, right? Like you mentioned with RIN and Wheel. Do you think then voice has has been underrated in its past history as something that can help us solve a lot of problems in society, or at least change the way that there is sort of a service inequity, like delivery inequity for basic services to people, right? Do you think voice has a much bigger role to play in that than we've seen so far? Where do you see that evolving into?
I think awareness in terms of what work is happening in the rural pockets, and the best guys to learn from is government, because when they are looking at India, they are looking at India at 1.3 billion lens.
Right.
When brands are looking at India, they must be looking at India in various cohorts and various audiences, right? So CPG becomes a low-hanging category, I would say, when it comes to rural outreach and rural marketing.
Right.
And that's when they deep dive and they get to learn about these solutions, which is a possibility. And mobile is deeply being used by a lot of these players. So mobile is not just being used to reach out, it's also acting like a monitoring tool. So I'll just give you one of the examples where you do a lot of these Anganwadi workers and promotions with Asha Didis and Anganwadi workers in rural India.
Right.
So one of the challenge which completely keeps coming in is when you've created a module, when housewives are coming to Anganwadi worker, whether she is actually playing the content or not to them. How do we monitor it? That becomes an issue, right? Most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what we said is when housewives come to you and there's a conversation which is happening, you are supposed to give a missed call, play that content, what we have created.
Mm-hmm.
And after the content play, you have to ask the audience में से किन्हीं दो लोगों के number आप beep के बाद enter करें, and then you will get some kind of a gratification. Moment that Anganwadi worker enters the number, the audiences get a call saying that, did you attend this? If they say yes, then everything gets mapped. Now we're talking about one use case. Like that, I think millions of such people, it's all getting mapped, and the client is getting a runtime dashboard in terms of what's happening in those markets. How many Anganwadi workers are promoting your brand content, it's getting exposed to how many people. And here, in this case, it's acting as a monitoring tool.
Right.
So whether you go to Kumbh Mela or any other campaign, for every sample which is being handed over, there's a simple technology which is a massive hit in India called missed calls. So before you give them, you basically ask them to give a call on a number, and then you give them the free sampling, which you then reuse to remarket and stuff like that, right? So mobile, I would say, or voice is playing multiple roles in this market. Or when it comes to a smart scheduler-based solution, something what we are doing for Gavi, which is the world's leading vaccination company.
Mm-hmm.
We are running a massive program in UP wherein our activation team goes and collects a lot of database of mothers, and then using this voice scheduler, we send out a lot of information about vaccination, health and hygiene on a daily basis. So when promoters are off the game, which is happening right now in COVID as well, these communications, they constantly keep in touch with them and keep hammering them on health and hygiene and immunization and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Then we also create a lot of services where these people, they dial into. So they are seeking any information, they dial into that particular number. And as I said, the best people to learn in this space is what government is doing. Or a lot of these political parties are building platforms which are focused at masses, right?
Right.
The Main Bhi Chaukidar is a platform which was being created where 25 lakh people were being engaged.
Right.
We got inspired by that and we created a platform called M-Samvad at Group M.
Right.
And it gives you an ability to get thousands of people on an audio conference bridge, which is India's largest, and get a celeb to talk to them, run simple Q&A out of it, right?
Right.
Now, more and more awareness about these platforms, when we go as an agency and talk to more and more brands and evangelize this medium, we start building more and more use cases around it.
Right.
So it's not that, and I would agree that it's not getting 100% leveraged. There's so much which can be done even now. And when it comes to the urban side of things, I would say it's more like a problem of data. If data starts coming in from Google, look at this scenario 10 years back when you used to go to a soap brand and tell them, create a website.
Right.
The brand would say, sabun ke liye website banane ki kya zarurat hai, right? You've been doing content for a while. This was a typical reaction.
Of course.
Then Google opened up data. Then we started getting category level data. Then people started thinking like, okay, in this category, there's so many people they're looking at the queries which are coming in. How do I have a clean skin and how do I look fairer and stuff like those typical queries. And then there was a need for a brand to take a stand and create a site. So when Google starts opening up category level voice search data, more and more brands will then come and create voice destinations. Then it won't need a rocket idea to sell a voice skill to a client. It becomes a de facto.
Right.
If in a particular category, if there are tons of voice search volumes which are coming in, backed by Google, all brands would agree to create a voice destination. You don't need to go and hard sell it, or you don't need to go and create a rocket thought around it. That if it's 5-star do nothing kind of a campaign would happen once in 6 months, right? But the hygiene campaign, like those 100 websites which got fired up in no time, 100 voice websites are going to get fired up in no time.
Right.
It's a factor of data. What kind of data which comes in?
That's very interesting.
So that's how I see this. Potential is immense. The entire ecosystem has to come together. And that's what we are trying to do even at the industry level in various forums. We are getting various partners to come together, talk about the opportunities, how we can work together, how we can build more success cases for the brands which are more sustained in nature. Though right now, I would say the urban side of it, it's pretty much under leveraged. There's loads which can be done. Myself, who's just breathing this ecosystem, I don't have a sustained use case, which has been on for a while, and it's solving a brand problem as such. That's something which we're still hunting for.
Right.
And in terms of building skills, we are building a lot of skills in bits and pieces, more tactical in nature. Something like we did for Pepsi, which was like play a rap challenge with Badshah, or work which we did for Bose, for Hello Sensodyne for GSK, with partnerships going with Librate, and tons of work in that space. But when it comes to skills which are more sustained, which are now getting part of the CRM systems, which is what you are seeing in text. So if you see, conversational AI overall has got 3 key formats, which is text, voice, and video.
Right.
Text is firing up in a big way in the Indian market. With WhatsApp Pay coming in, UPI is coming in, lot more and more brands are now creating smart conversational AI-led bots.
Right.
With Insta going to open up bots, with WhatsApp, which is going to have video and voice support in times to come. That's the conversation which I heard. So a lot of these interesting use cases in this space are going to pick up. And that's currently, it's more like a text story, and voice, as I said, on Amazon and Alexa, there are like amazing use cases right now, but sustained use cases is something which even I am looking at. So Amazon Alexa globally has got 100,000 skills. India has got about 30,000 skills. And we all know the number one trending skill is Sanjeev Kapoor's recipe and Hanuman Chalisa. Right. So India still wants to listen to music.
Pretty much.
On that, right? Yeah. And Google, you must have heard about that Antakshari on Google.
Right.
It is so beautifully done. You actually feel like you are singing with your buddy. It's so nicely done. So I think that's the top trending skill on Google.
Absolutely, I think.
Now Google is deeply again penetrated, right? So we are also in talks with Google and some of our clients to create a skill for Anganwadi workers. Now look at the ecosystem here. Finance Minister has given away 600,000 smartphones to Anganwadi workers. There are agencies who have trained them for 6 weeks on how to use smartphone. The ecosystem is all set. Google has spent a decade building that platform, getting that accuracy on Hindi as high as 90%. All we need to do is just go and land a brand skill. And there you go. Anganwadis would start using it.
Right.
Literacy is pretty limited. It increases your horizon by many folds. So all the Anganwadi would have to do is just fire up Google Assistant and say, Bukhar ke bare mein bataye. It throws up a content back at you in the form of video.
Right.
So a lot of use cases. I would say rural India, I'm betting big on rural India in terms of connected solutions as time progresses. And a lot of efforts are going on by our teams to kind of build solutions on those lines. Though IVR and smart IVRs, we've done tons and tons of work in that space. I would say there's so much more opportunity out there in the connected voice space as well. With a lot of support coming in from our partners, which is Google, I'm sure we'll be able to do more work in that space as well.
I love the way you brought it all together, right? How voice, video, and vernacular, the entire ecosystem sort of fits in together. And there's so much still for us to do, right? I think what's important for brands and for service providers to really understand is that the next billion users are not going to be English first. They will experience the internet in a very, very different way, right? When you started talking about the evolution of feature phones and of now into smartphones and how we use voice from one way to two way, these are people who will experience the internet with sort of mid-tier phone which has a voice button in the middle of it anyway, right? So their experience of the internet in the long term is going to change. So I'm completely with you when you say that while the potential is huge, I think it's time for...
Moreover, Vineet, I would say it's got to do with the insight. You know, when I remember some of my most fascinating campaigns have come in when I've sat with my known people in villages or the researchers which I've gone for. So one of my aunts stays in a village it's a district called Sambalpur in Orissa,
Right.
where my grandfather comes in from that district. So when I was discussing a problem statement of people falling ill and stuff, so she tells me if the government sends us notification, we will start washing our hands.
Right.
We won't fall sick. Such a simple insight she gave me. And then we started building on that. And that's how we created Lifebuoy infection alert system and similar stuff we did for Godrej.
Right.
What we did was we did a dashboarding of all infestation feed coming in from all possible government hospitals.
Right.
Every time there's a diarrhea peaking up in a particular district, we started releasing a call in that market saying that आपके इलाके में दस्त की महामारी फैली हुई है, Lifebuoy से हाथ धोना मत भूलें, अपने परिवार को सुरक्षित रखें. A simple deployment, and which has won us like tons and tons of fame. How are these ideas coming in? When you go and sit with these audiences who are facing those problems, is they have the solution. You have to sit with them and you have to craft what is the problem statement, and they would have their solutions. Most of the times when I've gone there, they have the solutions. Even when I was building this tutorial platform in the rural markets, and one of our rural experts internally was giving me a lot of heads up in terms of how the rural India stacks up,
right,
which is about 6.25 lakh villages with 6 lakh villages in a population bracket of 5,000 and below. 70% of those villages are the population of 1,000 and below. That's how scattered we are.
Right.
And if you land a small chutkale, like you spoke about Unilever, you worked on KKT. If you land a small chutkale in a 1,000 population village, the guy suddenly receives an alien content coming in from urban India on his phone. He goes around, tom-toms about that particular content to everyone in his village. सबको बता देगा वो. और जब लोग पूछेंगे कि कहाँ से सीखा आपने, he will say Unilever ने भेजा, Godrej ने भेजा, P&G ने भेजा, right? जो भी brand का नाम बोलेगा, right? He doesn't understand those bigger brands, mother brands, but he will say कि Surf ने भेजा या Wheels ने भेजा.
Surf ने भेजा, yeah, for sure.
Exactly. तो वो advocates बन जाते हैं रातों रात.
बिल्कुल.
So that is what we are trying to crack. We have to understand the problem statement and then the solutions are going to emerge. Because the technology is available. I'm not saying it's 100% in there. Today you tell me कि Punjabi में करते हैं with 100% accuracy. It's not going to happen. But yeah, why not? If you tell me that ऐसा करना है, तो we will definitely do. Because more and more brands, when they start going regional, that's how the systems are also going to learn and become expert in that space.
Right.
I was reading that article where government is spending about 100 crores in a 40-day project on NLT, Natural Language Transmission Mission, right? Which is all to do with that. So everything, the entire ecosystem is upbeat. Everyone is gunning for that. And it's just about the right time for us to build solutions and bring in our brand's problem statement with all the possible technology which we are coming in and bridge the gap and create solutions, which is what we intend to do in times to come. We're already doing it. But it has to be much more massive effort with more clones of me working on ground and building solutions with more marquee guys like you. That's how I see it. So content and tech should come together.
Absolutely. I think that should happen sooner rather than later, because I think that beyond the capabilities and the technology that we're talking about, I think what's important to note in what you said was that there is a problem to solve, right? It gives the whole initiative, the marketing, the technology, the content, a sense of purpose, especially something that we need in this time, right? I mean, healthcare delivery remains one of the most important challenges. Education delivery still remains a very, very difficult challenge in this country, right? And with the kind of technology and the kind of insights that you're putting out across brands, I think it's only a matter of time that more and more brands that are looking to engage with Bharat get on board with this, right? I think we're still very, very early, and it's easy to see that this is one way that a lot of brands can sort of pull share, because not everyone has got their act together. There are lots of regional players as well in some of these markets, and a lot more to unearth as the next billion users get online, right?
Yeah.
Neeraj, before I let you go on this conversation, we spoke about many different applications. We spoke about many campaigns that you've been part of, or many campaigns that have been successful around the world. But if I ask you to pick maybe one or maybe two, okay, one. I'll ask you to pick one campaign that really stood out to you as, hey, this is where the future of voice technology, or this is where the future of video, voice and vernacular is going. What would be that one campaign?
I mean, that's a difficult one. Like I said, I work across 500 top brands in the country.
Right.
But yeah, the campaign, which is Lifebuoy Infection Alert, that still date remains my favorite. It has created massive headlines for us.
Right.
Mindshare, WPP, Unilever globally.
Right.
We've won a lot of appreciation, not just awards. It's beyond what do you call media and commercial investment and the typical media world. It's beyond that. When you deploy campaigns like these, it gives you a lot of self-satisfaction that you went a notch forward and um, understood what was the problem statement in these markets and then built a solution which actually helped a lot of people on ground. Platforms like these actually help a lot of people on ground. And idea and the intent is again to work on these kind of campaigns. So as we speak, I'm also working with a lot of campaigns around solving the COVID problem, whether it's the internal problems which are facing with a lot of employees who are getting infected with COVID, what kind of platforms which we can create to support them. That's one area of work which I'm focusing on right now, building a lot of platforms to advantage. And even at a national level, I've got a lot of thoughts in terms of how we can help masses. Obviously, this involves a lot of these government interventions. So I can go for a moonshot and think really wild, but not necessarily everything is going to come out true. And in terms of efforts, I see I fail more than I succeed. So most of my ideas, and you work with me significantly, are really wacky. You wake me up at 12 o'clock in the night and I would still be oozing with ideas. And 8 out of 10 ideas, I would say, would fail. But 2 of them which succeed, it creates massive headlines for the company and it really helps the brand. So my advice is to think wild, think like a child. I mean, just keep going for new and new innovations. And whatever you feel, you should just speak out.
Right.
It's not that someone's going to kill you, right? If it's not going to match the brand ethos, it's fine. The brand manager is not going to kill you for that.
Right.
And I have faced a lot of situations in the past when brand managers taken offense saying that, यार ये मेरे brand, ये brief पे आपने इतना वाहियात कैसे सोचा? But मैंने बोला मैंने सोचा अपने दिमाग से सोचा यार मेरा दिमाग ऐसे ही काम करता है. Wild. And if you don't like it, then ठीक है, let's drop it here. I will go to some other brand with this thought, So, so you should not fear. You should be fearless with your thoughts when it comes to media, because media eventually shapes up the country, right? The way you think and the kind of deployments which you do, that depicts what your country is doing in the global forums. One of my areas of interest is to get India shining and to post campaigns which are more on the modern marketing aspect and not the rural centric. So most of the work which we are winning in global forums are like showing India in that pathetic light and then definitely solving problems and winning awards around that. But one of my personal, what do you call a goal or a mission is to build something which is really sci-fi and high-tech, cutting edge, ahead of times, and then get that winning across the global forums. So let's see, efforts are on, a lot of work we are working on. We've got tons of opportunities, a lot of supportive clients, and a lot of clients who are like me, I would say. They love to jam with guys like me and they love to think wild. But obviously, they would also have limitations at their end. Sometimes they are able to nail it with my teams and me, and we are able to create success stories. And sometimes it gets dropped, so that's part of life. But the intent is to do some cutting-edge work and get India shining.
Yeah, I love the passion with which you talked about both these things, right? The fact that there should be a willingness to fail with new ideas, with new cutting edge technology. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, marketing or life in general, marketing is growing at the edges, right? It is when you're open to taking a risk, when you're open to failure, when you're open to taking your passion to different people, even if others may not see it or may not be willing. I really like the passion with which you talked about all of this, right? I think it's very, very important that people who handle technology at scale have this sort of drive about it, right? And for sure, I mean, love the fact that you said you don't want to showcase, I mean, you also want to put up work that shows India in that whole sci-fi light. And I think that the time is now, right? I mean, maybe 3-4 years ago, we were not at that critical mass. But now is the time for us to be able to deliver all of...
Not that we are not doing fancy stuff in that space, but the work which is actually drawing headlines and winning is more rural work, which has got more emotional and sympathy.
Of course. But like you said, right, it's still, I think we're still in the figuring out stage of what is that urban deployment that really stands out, right? Especially with India service delivery being very slow, internet experience, so much more to figure out. It's a much more complex problem in the urban ecosystem, right? I think हम लोग rural areas में already इतने पीछे हैं that a lot of these that now seem like obvious solutions we're putting in place in such an elegant fashion with voice.
Look at this, and I think you were with Wavemaker 2013 or 15. I think I'm not wrong. We did a work for cinema and on cinema for Nokia, wherein we made the audiences control the cinema screen.
Right.
If you were aware about that use
No, I
case.
haven't heard of this.
So yeah, so this is like voice getting integrated to the cinema screen. If there'll be an interval and there's a character which is going to pop in on the big cinema screen, it's going to ask you to call on a number.
Mm-hmm.
Moment the audiences would call on a number, the character would ask you, should I go left or right? And the audience would give a command saying that go left.
Right.
And it plays that go left journey, right? Which is almost like Bandersnatch of Netflix.
Insane.
So we did this way back in 2013 for Nokia. And today we are talking about doing Bandersnatch for Netflix on MXP. MX Player, we did it for Axe, wherein the user can control the similar experience using Fire Stick remote. So Amazon current report says that in COVID times, people are spending about 3 hours on that Fire Stick remote, right? So we said, why can't we make that OTT now interactive and create Netflix Bandersnatch in India? And we did that with Axe. So it's not that we are not doing cool stuff in this market. There's a lot of cool stuff which is happening. Maybe West is doing cooler stuff, or maybe their perception is more sci-fi, and we'll have to build
packaging
one.
Is maybe more sci-fi.
Yeah, and we'll have to build one. Maybe it requires more guys from India who are now taking to the global forums and talking about these use cases.
That's amazing, man. And I hope that perception also changes very soon with the great work that you're doing. Thanks so much for taking the time out and talking to us, Neeraj. It was genuinely awesome and almost a learning experience. Every time, I mean, listening to you talk about voice and about technology in general is always a great learning experience. So thanks so much. I hope you had fun.
Absolutely. Always a fun. We need to chat with you. I still remember our jamming days at Wavemaker. And I keep telling everyone, it has to be content and tech coming together. That's how you'll be able to land more solutions.
For sure.
More content guys are able to work with tech guys or build that tech dent of mind. Solutions are going to pour down in a big way.
Words to live by from Neeraj Ruparel. That's it from us on this episode of Storytellers and Story Sellers. This has been so educational. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you thought of voice technology. Give us a shout on social. I'm at Ashcharya Fakit on Twitter and Instagram, or you can just write to IBM Podcast. That's it. This is me, Vineet Kanabar, saying goodbye.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Cred, TheWholeTruthFoods.com, and Seat Tires. We really do appreciate the support. So the last year's been tough for all of us, and the second wave of COVID has really hit us badly. To help those affected by the pandemic in India, the podcasting community has come together under the Pod for Change banner to raise funds through an exclusive NGO partner, Give India. Join IVM and Pod for Change as we look to make a positive impact in the life of those affected by COVID-19. You can go to tinyurl.com/podforchangeindia, and remember, somebody could really use the help. And now back to the promo. On the Simplified podcast, the gang explains the oxygen crisis happening in the country and tells us the various measures being taken to tackle it. On States of Anarchy, Hamsani Hariharan talks about how the geopolitical relationships shaped COVID response and the world order. As Indians, we're all familiar with acid reflux or heartburn, given the spicy food we consume. On The Habit Coach, Ashton has some simple solutions to counter that. Osama Moria explores the iconic neighborhood of Dadar and tells us its connection to outer space in Postcards from Nowhere. It was Dangle time on The Fighting Goat, as hosts Somesh and Arjun were joined by unbeaten MMA fighter and Commonwealth gold medalist Ritu Fogart. The traveling professor Siddharth Deshmukh shares examples of various innovations that came up during the COVID times and helped us deal with the situation. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.